Many on the left are not happy with President Trump's plan to put a 60-day pause on legal immigration. Critics claiming the president's just playing politics and that the move is dangerous. But Trump says he's doing it to help the economy. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi suggesting the move is about diverting attention.
He's a poor leader. He ignores his own responsibility and assigns blame instead of taking responsibility, paying attention to science, recognizing the role of governance in all of this to get the job done for the American people. And so he's engaged in distractions like immigration, distractions like supporting people in the street. They're all distractions away from the known fact that he's a total failure when it comes to testing.
And former presidential candidate Beto O'Rourke, he had this angry response. Quote, "Who the blank do you think is working on the farms and the feedlots, in the packing houses and processing plants at a time where we are struggling to feed ourselves? Who's in the kitchen? Who's picking, preparing, serving the food we eat and cleaning up afterwards?" Greg, I wanted to start with you and just, I know you're always attentive to how these political things work. And I thought I had about this was, I wonder if the president is baiting his critics on the left, because he makes a bold statement about shutting down immigration. But then when you look at the details say, oh, he's just suspending it even for people who are applying for permanent green cards for 60 days. And there's an exception for people in so many guest worker industries. So it's not that huge a change from where we are right now.
Yeah, so it's not too bad. I think you're right, though, in the sense that he knows exactly how the left reacts, right? If Trump cured cancer, the New York Times headline would read, "Trump cures cancer, a common illness among white nationalists." So so he knew this would happen. And it is hard. It is funny when you call something racist when it benefits minorities job-wise. It's like so he's pretty smart, and he's kind of put Biden in a box on this one, because how is Biden going to respond to this? Remember, he called it racist when he shut down travel. So what's he going to do now? Because then he had to change his mind. So I think it's exactly what you said. It's a moderate response. And it's a smart response. You don't allow walk-ons if all the positions on your team can be fulfilled by your players. So we don't need walk-ons right now. A baseball analogy.
Jesse, the Wall Street Journal. I heard you. Okay. Put me in, coach. Jesse, the Wall Street Journal called this move by the president on immigration suspension a political distraction, and they pointed out that before the coronavirus, we had historic low unemployment. Well, if illegal immigrants or any kind of immigrant was taking away jobs, how is it that so many jobs were open just a few weeks ago?
Are you kidding me, Juan? 20 million Americans just lost their jobs in 4 weeks. So when the economy comes back, you want Americans first in line. I guess these leftists want Americans second in line behind foreign nationals. It makes no sense to me. This is a no-brainer. Let's just take Nancy Pelosi for a second. She must have a brain freeze from all that pricey ice cream, because science has driven every single decision here. Yes. Science was the one that shut down travel from China and Europe. Science was the thing that shut down the U.S. economy. If she thinks Donald Trump shut down the greatest economy in the world, an economy that was going to win him re-election because of politics, then Donald Trump must be the dumbest politician in America besides Beto O'Rourke. Because here's the situation, Nancy, who's living in a quarantine in her mansion overlooking the San Francisco Bay. Would she right now open her door to a stranger, a foreign national who she doesn't know where they came from, if they've been quarantined, if they've been tested? No. Why, Nance? Because science tells you don't do that. So why should America do that now? And it's like I said, it's economics. Juan, economics 101. And if they want to run on open borders and foreign labor, be my guest. She's going to lose her gavel, just like she's losing her mind.
Well, I was talking about the Wall Street Journal, which is a pretty conservative editorial page, and Dana, here's what the Journal said. They said, the economic evidence points to immigration helping with recovery helping with growth. And others have pointed out that it's something like 16% of our doctors and healthcare workers are immigrants.
But and that's why I think that, you know, he is vague purposefully, I guess, when he does the initial tweet. But then when you actually get to the end of it, you find out that it's actually a very, I wouldn't even say it's moderate, I'd say it's pretty mild to have a pause for 60 days. And there's carve-outs for farm workers and healthcare workers. There's probably at the end of this will be engineers, et cetera, because it is true. We know that America is fueled by entrepreneurship, and a lot of those entrepreneurs are immigrants. I mean, we have that in our own family's history on this show. So I think that, you know, fool me once when you react so aggressively to one of the president's vague tweets. And then I guess it's, you know, it's his communication style. And then you wait and you find out that the policy is really not that different. And so if you're Joe Biden, you really are in a box, because if you react to the initial tweet and you have that you're going to have to pay for until the election, and then you actually get to the policy and you're like, oh, I actually agree with that.
Yeah, it's kind of curious. So, Judge, there's no evidence that immigration is associated with the spread of the virus. Can you agree to that much?
Well, I don't know if we know enough, right? Aren't we a country that is now relying on studies and science? And I don't think anyone's capable of answering that. But I think the important point here is that when the economy does come back, a lot of these businesses, you know, the 22 million Americans who are out of work, and I'm sure it's going up again at the end of the week, they're not going to have a business to go back to. And as between them and someone coming in from another country to get that job, whatever that number is, however small people may think that this change is, according to the president's order here, it's significant to American families. And in the end, that's the, you know, he is the president of the United States for Americans. And the more that Joe Biden starts talking about immigration, the more he goes down into the rabbit hole, because he's got to remember, he's running to be president of the United States, no other country. And it's going to bite him in the butt, I think. But that's just me.